Forget about forget about toilet paper. How many of you during the pandemic have gone to the supermarket only to find empty shelves of bread, meat, or another food product? It may not surprise you to hear, but in many parts of the world, the problem is worse. According to the 2020 State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World report, this year, the world risks seeing an additional 130 million people being pushed into hunger. Unfortunately, this is making an already precarious situation worse. Last year, an unconscionable number, 690 million people went hungry, and that's an increase from the year before. This is a topic I feel passionate about since in 2015, I had the chance to present about what can be done to make food systems sustainable in the European Parliament. The idea I presented was using funding programs at EU level to shorten supply chains and encourage cooperative and local food production. I also outlined steps that elected representatives could take, such as pushing for a sustainable food system strategy. The global pandemic has disrupted the supply, distribution, and production of food. Farmers and food production workers have gotten sick, or due to lockdown measures, foreign workers are unavailable, and they are a staple of the agri-food workforce. Many countries around the world have also enacted trade restrictions on the exportation of needed food items. And on top of the worst public health crisis in 100 years, many countries around the world are seeing locusts to an extent that has not been seen in decades. Going back to my speech in 2015, after a question and answer session, I had a chance to do an interview with Eleonora Evi, an Italian member of the European Parliament who was elected before she was 30 years old. As sustainability had been one of the issues discussed at length, I brought up that young people were looking for opportunities to have their voices heard. That was 5 years ago, and yet even today I find examples of initiatives from young people that inspire me. The World Bank has launched a campaign, #YouthOnCovid-19, to highlight what young people around the world were doing to combat the challenges brought on by the COVID pandemic. One young woman in the Philippines is making a difference. Sherry Italiano is a founder of Agrea Philippines, whose goal is to end rural poverty through training farmers and businesses in agricultural entrepreneurship and sustainability. When lockdown measures were enacted in the Philippines, many farmers were forced to throw away perfectly good produce because their normal commercial routes had been disrupted. Sherry and her team saw an opportunity to reduce food waste by creating alternatives for farmers to sell their produce. Through the Move Food initiative, they mobilized private truck owners, young food producers to get food from where it was needed, from where it was grown to where it was needed in villages, towns, and even the capital. And they've had some amazing results. Over 7,000 farmers have sold food to more than 51,000 Filipino families. And the amount is enormous. They've sold 320,000 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables. They're also not forgetting about frontline workers, as they've organized to donate to local kitchens to make sure that they have food to eat. Fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Toastmaster, and guests, the world is facing enormous challenges. Yet stories like Sherry's give me hope that people, particularly young people, will rise to the occasion. And what I really like about Sherry's story and her initiative is it also demonstrates something I strongly believe in, that young people, when given the opportunity and platform, can and will make a difference. Crises force change to the status quo. You don't need to have an audience of, sorry, let me back up a step. When I was doing research for the speech, I saw that the sustainable food system strategy I brought up in my 2015 speech had been released by the European Union in March. So that means for 6 years, citizens, businesses, NGOs, and food producers have been waiting. Change can be slow. As I was saying, crises force change to the status quo, and you don't need to have an audience of 5,000 people to be able to make a difference or be in a position of power. There's even local initiatives in your own community to tackle hunger. And if you can't find one, start one. Let's look at crises as opportunities to make a difference and connect with people in need. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.